Hi. Welcome to this 6th session of Echoes of Enlightenment, where we cover a study with Sir Isaac Newton. Come along with us as we further explain Baroque literature.
Sixth literary figure. A study with Sir Isaac Newton. 1642 to 1726. From 1642 English and Scottish parliaments battled King Charles until his defeat in 1645, the interregnum with Oliver Cromwell lasted to 1660 and the Restoration began with Charles II, but matches had been lit. As the social stir created by the Age of Enlightenment grew, being born on Christmas Day, though circumstantial, never heard a man's argument, and Isaac Newton was so in 1642. Born in a hamlet in Lincolnshire County to the single mother Hannah Icecoff, young Isaac would never meet the senior Isaac Newton who passed 3 months prior to his birth. When his mother remarried the Reverend Barnabas Smith, she'd go live with him, leaving young Isaac to be raised by his maternal grandmother. Sir Isaac Newton became an exceptional student whose education enlightened him in optics, calculus, and gravity, so much so that his theories, works, and his position at the Royal Mint led to his knighthood.
Newton became an exceptional student whose education led to his enlightenment. From 12 to 17, Isaac Newton's exceptional education in Grantham, attending the King's School, then later at the University of Cambridge he attended Trinity College. At the King's School they focused on ancient Greek and Latin, where the language can't be taught without the culture, nor the culture without its people and architecture. With studying their architecture, Newton certainly grasped his foundation in mathematics. Leaving the King's School to return home in Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth in 1659, Master Henry Stokes at the King's School persuaded his mother to re-enroll him, where he distinguished himself from others by making his what would become famous sundials. Newton matriculated to the University of Cambridge in 1661, where at Trinity College he worked his way through college until receiving a 4-year scholarship in 1664, allowing him to complete his master's. There was a scholastic focus on Aristotle at Cambridge, where Newton excelled, but in his personal studies modern thinkers of the time like René Descartes, Thomas Street, and Galileo Galilei sparked his attention. He would discover a generalized binomial theorem and a mathematical theorem that would become known as calculus. When Newton received his BA in 1665, it wouldn't be long before the university would close its doors temporarily due to fears of the Great Plague, where in that 2-year hiatus fundamental developments in optics, gravity, and calculus were made. Returning to the university in April of 1667 and elected Fellow of Trinity that October, though traditionally he would have also had to be a priest, from 1660 during the restoration of the Stuart monarchy priesthood wasn't enforced. So impressive was Newton's work that his immediate predecessor Isaac Barrow, the Lucasian professor, became Master of Trinity, borrowing from Newton, who succeeded him in 1669 as Trinity's Master. In the 13th year of the Fellowship of the Royal Society, FRS, Newton was elected in 1672.
With a healthy education and having been enlightened therefrom, his work in optics, calculus, and gravity was much more baroque than not. Noticing that colors have different angles of refraction in prisms, he concludes that color is an intrinsic property of light. Proving colored light's properties don't change, when colored beams were separated, he shined them on objects where the light's color remained. He concluded objects don't generate color of themselves, but color results from light which is already colored, which became Newton's theory of color. Thus, looking through refracting telescopes, lens-colored light is subject to distortion, where proving this spherochromatism he designed one using reflective mirrors, a Newtonian telescope, built in 1668, where the problem was solved. Enlightened he wrote of colors in 1671, hypothesis of light in 1675, optics in 1704. Perhaps more importantly, he is credited with developing or discovering within mathematics calculus after having mastered every other branch. In June of 1669 he wrote the Analysi per Equationes Numero Terminorum Infinitus to John Collin FRS, a mathematician known as the English Mersenne. The Leibniz-Newton calculus controversy questions the mind enlightened enough to consider flux ions in mathematics. Separated in space and estranged by language barriers, how could two minds think of the same concept in mathematics at the same time? Enlightened, he wrote De Motu Corporum in Gyrum in 1684 and his Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica in 1687, expanding the wealth of Baroque literature. His study of celestial mechanics and considering planetary motion in reference to Kepler's laws, Newton considered gravitation's effects on the orbits of planets. In his Principia, Newton delivers his 3 laws of motion, wherewith it he became internationally recognized and celebrated today.
Isaac Newton's multiple works built his reputation, so much so that he would become Cambridge University's Member of Parliament in England, the Warden of the Royal Mint, and knighthood under Queen Anne. In 1689 and 1671 Newton was Cambridge University's Member of Parliament in England, which from its coat of arms is Semper Idem, always the same, after the Glorious Revolution and as William III ascended to sovereignty. In 1671 in the Act of Settlement, Je maintiendrai, I will maintain, where the throne of England would forevermore be Protestant, Newton would serve again. In 1696 Newton would take a position at the Royal Mint as Warden in London, taking charge of the Great Reckoning, and was promoted to Deputy Controller of the Chester branch soon thereafter. Promoted on the death of Thomas Neal to his position equivalent to Postmaster General of the North American colonies, he held the title Master of the Mint for the last 30 years of his life. In 1703 he was president of the Royal Society and knighted by Queen Anne in April of 1705.
Sir Isaac Newton, enlightened from his education, championed optics, calculus, and gravitation in Baroque literature and was knighted amongst other things. A member of Parliament upon the Glorious Revolution and the Act of Settlement, he is more revered here for following Neil.
That's all the information we have for you this time. Next we cover a study with Francis Hutcheson. We can't wait to see you then. Thank you for your time and consideration.